Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Tonight I've got some absolutely wild Reddit stories for you. Alright, let's jump into the first story. So this happened last month, and I'm still not sure if I handled it right, but my family is split down the middle on this one. I was flying back home from a work conference, and I'd splurged on an aisle seat because I'm tall, like 6'4" tall, and middle seats on a 5-hour flight are basically medieval torture devices for someone my height. I booked this seat 2 months in advance and paid extra for it. Not a ton, but enough that it mattered. I get on the plane, stow my bag, sit down, and I'm already settling in when this woman approaches me. She's got 2 kids with her, maybe 7 and 9 years old, and she immediately launches into this whole spiel about how they're separated and she really needs to sit with her children, and would I mind switching seats with her. Now here's the thing, the seat she's offering me, middle seat, way in the back, near the bathroom, the kind of seat that's available for a reason. I politely tell her no, I paid extra for this seat specifically because I need the leg room, and I'm sorry, but I can't help her. She does not take this well. She starts going on about how I'm being selfish, how she's a mother and her kids need her, how it's just one flight and can I be accommodating. I'm trying to stay calm, and I explain again that I paid for this seat. I need it for medical reasons, basically. My knees are destroyed from years of basketball, and I'm really sorry, but no. The flight attendant comes over because now there's a holdup, and people are trying to board behind her. The woman immediately turns to the flight attendant and says, "I'm refusing to let her sit with her children, like I'm the villain in this story." The flight attendant asks me if I'd be willing to switch, and I say no. I paid for the seat. Here's where it gets weird. The flight attendant looks uncomfortable, but tells the woman she'll see what she can do, and then they spend 10 minutes trying to find someone else to switch. Eventually, they move one of the kids to sit next to the mom in her row, and the other kid stays in his assigned seat a few rows back. Problem solved, right? Wrong. This woman spends the entire flight, and I mean the entire 5 hours, giving me dirty looks. Every time I get up to use the bathroom, she makes these loud comments to the person next to her about entitled people who don't care about families. When we land, she makes a point of telling me I should be ashamed of myself. I get home and tell my girlfriend what happened, expecting sympathy, and instead she says I probably should have just switched. She says it wouldn't have killed me to be uncomfortable for one flight if it meant a mom could sit with her kids. My sister agrees with me, says I paid for the seat and that woman's poor planning isn't my problem. My mom says I technically wasn't wrong, but maybe could have been nicer about it. Now I'm sitting here wondering if I'm the jerk. I don't think I did anything wrong. I paid for a specific seat for a specific reason, and I used that seat. But the guilt trip was intense, and part of me wonders if I should have just taken the hit and been the bigger person. But also, why is it my responsibility to fix someone else's booking situation? She could have paid for seat selection too. She could have called the airline ahead of time. Why does me being prepared and paying extra suddenly make me the bad guy when she didn't plan ahead? I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but that woman's face when she called me entitled is going to haunt me for a while. Let's move on to the next story. I work in a pretty standard office environment. Nothing fancy, but we've got a decent break room with a fridge, microwave, the usual setup. And for months, literally months, someone had been stealing my lunch. Not every day. That's what made it so insidious. It was random enough that I started questioning whether I was losing my mind. I'd pack a sandwich and it would be gone. I bring leftover pasta and someone would eat half of it. I buy a yogurt parfait from the fancy place near my apartment and find it missing with just the empty container in the trash. I tried everything normal people try. I wrote my name on my food in big letters. I put it in an opaque bag. I even sent out a polite email to the team asking people to please not take food that isn't theirs. Nothing worked. Then one day, I brought in this really nice Thai curry I'd made the night before. I was genuinely excited about it. I'd spent time getting the spice level perfect. The sauce was incredible, and I was daydreaming about it all morning. Lunch rolls around, I go to the break room, and it's gone. The entire container. Just gone. That was it. That was my villain origin story. I decided I needed to figure out who was doing this, so I could either confront them or report them to HR, or just publicly shame them. I hadn't decided yet. I went on Amazon and ordered a cheap motion-activated camera, the kind people use for home security. I set it up in my bag, angled toward the fridge, and waited. It took 3 days, but I finally caught her. Brenda from accounting. I couldn't believe it. Brenda, who always talked about her meal prep and her fitness journey and how disciplined she was with her diet. Brenda was the lunch thief. The video was clear as day. She walks into the break room, looks around to make sure no one's watching, opens the fridge, and takes my sandwich, my beautiful Italian sub that I'd been thinking about all morning. She just takes it and walks out like it's completely normal. I was furious. But I'm also a petty person when wronged, so I decided to handle this creatively. The next week, I made a special sandwich: bread, deli meat, cheese, lettuce, tomato. Everything looked totally normal. Except I added a little something extra: wasabi. Not a reasonable amount of wasabi. An absolutely unhinged amount of wasabi, mixed into the mayo so you couldn't see it, spread evenly throughout so every bite would be a surprise. I packed it in my usual container, wrote my name on it, put it in the fridge, and waited. Around noon, I hear this noise from the break room. It's Brenda, and she's coughing. Not choking, nothing dangerous, just clearly having a very bad time. She's at the sink, gulping water, and her face is red. A couple people ask if she's okay, and she says she must be getting sick or something. Her throat is burning. I walk in, all concerned, and ask what's wrong. She can barely talk, just keeps drinking water and fanning her face. I glance at the trash and see my container. Empty. I fight every urge to smile. Later that day, I get an email from HR asking me to come by for a chat. Apparently, Brenda reported that someone put something dangerous in their food in the shared fridge, and she accidentally ate it, and it made her sick. She didn't mention that it was my food she ate, just that there was unsafe food in the fridge. I bring my camera footage to the HR meeting. I show them the video of Brenda taking my lunch multiple times over the past 2 weeks. I explain that I made myself a sandwich with wasabi, which I happen to love, not a lie, and that I had no idea someone would steal it and eat it. I point out that my name was clearly written on the container. HR was not pleased with Brenda. Turns out this wasn't the first complaint about her taking people's food, but it was the first time anyone had proof. She got a formal written warning and had to apologize to me in front of our manager. She doesn't steal my lunch anymore. In fact, she doesn't really talk to me at all, which is fine by me. Some people in the office think I went too far, that I essentially booby-trapped my food, and that's not okay. But I disagree. I made myself lunch with ingredients I like. It's not my fault someone stole it and didn't enjoy the flavor profile. If you don't want surprises, don't eat other people's food. My only regret is that I didn't go with ghost pepper hot sauce instead. That would have been even more satisfying. Time for the next one. I got married 6 months ago, and I'm still processing the absolute circus that was my wedding day. Not because of normal wedding stress, but because my mother-in-law decided she was going to turn it into her own personal event. For context, my husband's mom has always been a lot. She's one of those people who has an opinion about everything and genuinely believes her opinion is the only correct one. When we got engaged, she had thoughts about the ring. Too modern, apparently. She had thoughts about our timeline. Too fast. She had thoughts about literally every single decision we made. But we set boundaries. We said thank you for the input, but this is our wedding and we'll handle it. We thought that was the end of it. The problem started during the planning. She kept calling vendors, directly, despite not being authorized to make any decisions. She called our florist and tried to change our flower order to something more elegant. She called the caterer and tried to add surf and turf to the menu. Because she doesn't eat chicken, she called our DJ and requested he play specific songs that she liked, including changing our first dance song. Every time, the vendors would call us confused, asking if we'd changed our minds. Every time, we'd have to explain that no, we hadn't. and please disregard anything his mother says. It was exhausting. We finally had to have a come to Jesus meeting with her, where my husband explicitly told her to stop contacting our vendors, or she wouldn't be invited to the wedding. She cried, said we were being cruel, but she agreed. Wedding day arrives. Everything's going smoothly. I'm getting ready with my bridesmaids, feeling good, excited. Then my maid of honor gets a text from one of the groomsmen. There's a problem. My mother-in-law showed up to the venue, wearing a white dress. Not cream, not ivory, not champagne. White. Bright, wedding dress white, with a full skirt and a train. She looked like she was the one getting married. I lost it. I sent my maid of honor out to handle it because I couldn't deal with it without losing my mind completely. My maid of honor, bless her, went out there and very calmly told her she needed to change or leave. My mother-in-law said she didn't bring another dress. My maid of honor said that's unfortunate, but she can't attend the ceremony in white. This turned into a whole thing. My mother-in-law started crying, saying we were embarrassing her, that the dress wasn't even that white, that we were being dramatic. My husband's dad tried to de-escalate and suggested they go home and change, but she refused. Finally, one of my bridesmaids, who's my hero by the way, walked up with a glass of red wine and accidentally tripped right into my mother-in-law, dumped the entire glass down the front of her dress. It was beautiful. It was perfect. It was justice. My mother-in-law screamed, called my bridesmaid clumsy and rude, but now she had to leave to change. She left the venue in tears, and honestly, I felt no guilt whatsoever. She didn't come back for the ceremony. She showed up later, during the reception, wearing a navy dress and the most sour expression I've ever seen. She barely spoke to anyone, sat in the corner, and left early. The next day, she sent a long text to my husband about how disrespectful his bride and her friends were, how we ruined her experience of her son's wedding, and how she expected an apology. My husband told her that showing up in white was disrespectful, and if anyone owed an apology, it was her. She hasn't apologized. She's barely spoken to us since. Family members are divided. Some think we were too harsh. Others think she got what she deserved. I'm firmly in the camp that she got exactly what she deserved. You don't wear white to someone else's wedding. That's wedding etiquette 101. The fact that she's his mother doesn't give her a pass to break basic rules of decency. My husband feels guilty, which I understand. That's his mom. But he also agrees she was out of line, and we handled it the best we could under the circumstances. The whole thing is just wild to me. Like, imagine being so self-centered that you try to upstage your own son's wedding. Imagine thinking that's acceptable behavior. Anyway, we're happily married. The wedding photos are beautiful, and his mom isn't in most of them because she was too busy sulking. So I'd call that a win. Let's get into the next story. This is one of those stories where I genuinely didn't mean to cause problems, but somehow I ended up being the catalyst for major workplace drama. I work for a mid-sized company, about 200 employees. We have a decent office with all the standard amenities, including a coffee station. For years, the company provided basic coffee, the cheap stuff in bulk, but it was free and it was caffeinated, so most people didn't complain. Then about 8 months ago, management decided to upgrade our break room experience. They brought in one of those fancy corporate coffee services where you have the individual pods and the machine that makes espresso drinks and all that. Sounds great, right? Except they started charging for it, $2 per cup, and they removed the free coffee entirely. People were annoyed, but most just started bringing coffee from home or buying it on the way to work. I'm a pretty serious coffee person though, like I have opinions about roasts and brewing methods, so I just brought in my own setup. A nice pour-over system, my own beans, a grinder, the whole deal. I set it up on my desk and started making my own coffee. This caught the attention of my coworkers pretty quickly. People would walk by and comment on how good it smelled. I'd offer to make them a cup, and they'd be shocked at how much better it was than the pod machine downstairs. Word spread. Within 2 weeks, I had people regularly stopping by my desk asking if I could make them coffee. I didn't mind at first, I like sharing good coffee, and it was nice to chat with people from other departments. But it was getting to be a lot. I was spending like an hour each morning just making coffee for people, so I sent out an email to my immediate team and a few other people who'd been asking, saying, hey, if you want to chip in a few bucks a week for beans, I'll keep making coffee for anyone who contributes. Just trying to cover my costs since I was going through a bag of expensive beans every 3 days. 15 people immediately said yes, then 20, then 30. I had to create a spreadsheet to keep track of who'd paid and who hadn't. I bought a bigger French press to keep up with demand. My desk essentially became an unofficial coffee bar. Management noticed. Of course they noticed. Half the office was coming to my desk instead of using their expensive coffee service that they'd locked into a 3-year contract. My manager called me into her office and told me I needed to shut down my coffee operation. I asked why, since I was doing it on my own time during breaks and wasn't disrupting my work. She said it was creating an unapproved food service and that it was hurting the company's relationship with their coffee vendor. I pointed out that the coffee vendor was charging employees for something that used to be free, and that I was just making coffee for myself and sharing with friends. She said it didn't matter. I needed to stop, or there would be consequences. I was pretty frustrated, so I did something probably stupid. I sent an email to everyone who'd been chipping in for coffee, explaining that management had shut down the coffee sharing and why. I kept it factual, no editorial commentary, just the facts. That email got forwarded. A lot. Within an hour, it had reached basically the entire company. People were pissed. Not at me, at management. Turns out a lot of people were already resentful about losing free coffee, and this felt like management was punishing someone for finding a solution. The company Slack channel exploded with complaints. Someone started a petition. The CEO got involved. There was a hastily called all-hands meeting where they tried to explain the decision to bring in the paid coffee service. Something about quality and options and corporate partnerships. It went over like a lead balloon. People started asking why we were nickel and diming employees when the company had just posted record profits. Long story short, they brought back free coffee. Not the good stuff I was making, but decent coffee. Free, unlimited, available all day. They kept the fancy machine for people who wanted to pay for specialty drinks, but the basic coffee was free again. I became a minor legend in the office. People called me the coffee revolutionary. Someone made a meme of me as Che Guevara holding a coffee cup. It was hung in the break room for 2 weeks before HR took it down. My manager was not thrilled with me, but she couldn't really do anything since I hadn't technically violated any rules. I just made coffee and sent a factual email. The company newsletter even did a little piece about listening to employee feedback, without mentioning that the feedback was basically a revolt. I still make my own fancy coffee at my desk, but now I don't share it quite as widely. I learned that workplace revolutions are exhausting, and I just want to drink good coffee in peace. But hey, at least everyone else has free coffee again. You're welcome, I guess. On to the next one. I need to get this off my chest because it happened 2 months ago and I'm still angry about it. I live with a roommate. Well, I used to live with a roommate, and we had what I thought was a pretty good arrangement. We met through a housing app. Both needed a place. The apartment was nice. Rent was split. Fairly, everything seemed fine. I have a cat named Pepper. She's a 3-year-old tabby and she's basically my whole world. I got her right after a bad breakup and she got me through a really dark time. She's friendly, super affectionate, loves everyone she meets. Important detail, she's microchipped and registered to me. My roommate loved Pepper. From day one, she was always playing with her, giving her treats, posting pictures of her on social media. I thought it was nice that they got along. Pepper loved the attention, and I liked that someone else was there to hang out with her when I worked late. A few months into living together, my roommate started making comments about how Pepper liked her better, how Pepper slept in her room more than mine, how Pepper came running when she got home from work. It was always framed as joking, but there was this weird edge to it. Then she started calling Pepper our cat, like she'd say to guests, "Oh yeah, this is our cat Pepper. I corrected her a few times, saying, "No, Pepper's my cat. You just live here too." She'd laugh it off but keep doing it. Things got weird when I mentioned I was thinking about moving. My job was going remote permanently, and I wanted to relocate somewhere with lower rent. My roommate got really quiet and then asked what I was planning to do with Pepper. I was confused. I said, "Obviously Pepper's coming with me. She's my cat." My roommate said she thought since Pepper was so bonded to her, maybe Pepper should stay. I laughed because I thought she was kidding. She wasn't kidding. She went on this whole thing about how Pepper was happier with her, how I worked too much and wasn't home enough, how she was the one who really took care of Pepper. None of which was true. I paid for all of Pepper's food, vet bills, litter, everything. My roommate occasionally gave her treats and played with her. I told her absolutely not, Pepper's my cat, and she's coming with me. My roommate got upset and said I was being selfish. I ended the conversation there because it was getting absurd. 2 weeks later, I had to go on a work trip for 4 days. I left food and water for Pepper, same as always. My roommate was home, so I knew someone would be there if anything went wrong. I get back from my trip and Pepper's gone. I searched the entire apartment. I'm calling for her, checking every closet, every hiding spot. Nothing. I ask my roommate if she's seen Pepper, and my roommate says no. She must have gotten out somehow. She suggests, maybe I left a window open, or didn't close the door all the way. I know I didn't. I'm obsessive about checking doors and windows because Pepper is an indoor cat, and I'm paranoid about her getting out. But my roommate is insisting Pepper must have escaped and that we should make flyers and check with neighbors. I'm panicking. I'm making lost cat posts online. I'm walking around the neighborhood calling for her. I'm crying because I can't find my cat. This goes on for 3 days. Then I get a message on one of the lost cat posts. It's from someone saying they saw my roommate's Instagram story, and the cat in it looks like my missing cat. They send me a screenshot. It's Pepper in someone else's apartment with my roommate. The caption says something about settling into her new place. I lose my mind. I confront my roommate immediately, and she tries to deny it, saying that must be an old photo. I point out that the photo is time-stamped from yesterday and shows furniture that wasn't in our apartment. She finally admits that she gave Pepper to a friend of hers because she thought Pepper would be happier there. I tell her she has 1 hour to get my cat back, or I'm calling the police. She says I'm overreacting and that Pepper is fine and probably doesn't even miss me. I call the police anyway. The cops show up, and at first they're treating this like a civil matter. But when I show them Pepper's microchip registration, vet records, and adoption papers, all in my name, they tell my roommate she needs to return the cat immediately, or she'll be charged with theft. My roommate is crying, saying she was just trying to do what was best for Pepper. The cops don't care. They escort her to her friend's apartment, and I get Pepper back. Pepper was fine, thankfully. A little confused, but not harmed. I moved out the next week and stayed with a friend until I found a new place. My roommate tried to text me a few times with long explanations about how she got too attached and made a mistake, but I blocked her. The wildest part is she genuinely seemed to believe she had a claim to my cat, like the fact that she gave Pepper attention meant she had equal rights to her. It was delusional. I've since moved to a new city and Pepper is thriving. I live alone now, and I'm never having a roommate again. Lesson learned. People are weird about pets, and you can't trust anyone. Also, microchip your pets. If Pepper hadn't been chipped, this could have gone very differently. Let's move to the next story. Thanksgiving was 3 weeks ago, and my family's still not speaking to me. I'm honestly not sure if I'm in the wrong here, or if everyone is overreacting, but I need outside perspective. Some background. My family's big on maintaining appearances. Everything has to look perfect. Everyone has to get along. We don't talk about problems. It's exhausting, but it's how my parents have always run things. My older brother has been the golden child forever. Star athlete. Went to a good college. Got a high-paying job. Married his college sweetheart. On paper, he's got the perfect life. My parents brag about him constantly. What they don't know, or choose to ignore, is that he's been cheating on his wife for 2 years. I know this because his wife and I are close. She confided in me about 6 months ago, said she found messages and confronted him, and he admitted to multiple affairs. She's been trying to decide whether to stay or leave, and it's been destroying her. She asked me not to tell anyone because she didn't want the family drama while she figured out what to do. I agreed because it wasn't my business to share, and I wanted to support her however I could. Thanksgiving rolls around, and we're all at my parents' house. The whole family is there. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, everyone. Dinner is going fine until my dad starts doing his annual toast, where he goes around and says what he's grateful for about each family member. He gets to my brother and launches into this long speech about what an amazing husband and father he is, how he's such a good role model, how proud they are of the life he's built. My brother is sitting there looking humble and gracious. His wife is sitting next to him, looking like she wants to disappear. Then my dad says something about how he hopes all his kids can have marriages as strong as my brother's someday. He looks directly at me when he says it, because I'm single, and apparently that's a problem. Something in me just snapped. I'd been watching my brother get praised for months while knowing what he was really doing. I'd been watching his wife suffer in silence, and I was tired of the fakeness of it all. So I said, "Actually, that marriage isn't as strong as you think." The table went silent. My dad asked what I meant. I looked at my brother and said, "Do you want to tell them? Or should I?" My brother went pale. His wife looked horrified, but also relieved, if that makes sense. My mom asked what was going on, and I said it. I said my brother has been cheating on his wife for 2 years, and that their perfect marriage is a lie. Chaos. Absolute chaos. My brother started yelling at me, calling me a liar, saying I was jealous and trying to ruin his life. His wife started crying. My mom told me I was being inappropriate and to stop causing drama. My dad demanded to know if it was true. My brother's wife, to her credit, didn't lie. She confirmed it. She said yes, he'd been cheating, and yes, she'd been dealing with it privately, but now it was out there and maybe that was better anyway. My brother stormed out. Half the family left with him. The other half stayed, but dinner was obviously ruined. My mom pulled me aside and told me I should be ashamed of myself for airing family business like that and ruining Thanksgiving. My dad said I was vindictive and cruel. The thing is, I don't feel bad. I'm tired of pretending everything is fine when it's not. I'm tired of watching my brother get praised for being something he's not while his wife suffers. I'm tired of the whole performance of family harmony. My brother's wife texted me later, saying she wasn't mad. That part of her was glad it was finally out in the open. She's filing for divorce now. She said keeping the secret was killing her, and at least now she doesn't have to pretend anymore. But my parents are furious with me. They say I should have handled it privately, that I embarrassed the family, that it wasn't my place to say anything. My brother has told everyone I'm dead to him. Extended family members are taking sides. I stand by what I did. If the truth ruins Thanksgiving, maybe the problem isn't the truth. Maybe the problem is that we've all been lying to make my parents feel better about their perfect family image. But I also acknowledge that Thanksgiving dinner probably wasn't the best venue for this revelation. I could have talked to my parents privately. I could have encouraged my brother's wife to tell people on her own timeline. I don't know. I'm frustrated and tired and honestly just done with all of it. My parents keep calling, asking me to apologize to my brother, and I keep refusing. This whole thing is a mess, and I'm not sure there's a way to fix it. Sometimes the truth hurts, but I'd rather hurt feelings than keep living a lie. Time for another story. I worked at a marketing firm for 3 years, under the worst boss I've ever had. Let's call her Patricia. Patricia was a micromanager, a credit stealer, and just generally unpleasant to work for. She'd take ideas from her team and present them to upper management as her own. She'd send emails at 11 p.m. and expect responses immediately. She'd criticize our work in front of clients. Everyone hated her, but she was good at managing up. The executives loved her because she always hit her numbers, mostly because she was ruthless with her team and took credit for our work. Multiple people had complained to HR over the years, but nothing ever came of it. She was untouchable. Then came the project that changed everything. We were pitching a major client, and Patricia assigned me to do basically all the work while she oversaw things. I created the strategy, designed the presentation, wrote all the copy, did all the research. She'd pop into my office occasionally to tell me things weren't good enough and demand changes. The day before the presentation, she called me into her office and said she was going to present my work to the client. Not we were going to present it, she was going to present it. I asked if I'd at least be in the meeting and she said no. This client prefers to deal with senior leadership only. She literally told me, "You did the grunt work, now let me handle the important part." I was furious, but didn't know what to do. Then I remembered something from a company-wide training we'd done on intellectual property. Any work created by employees for the company belongs to the company, but employees are supposed to be credited for their contributions in client presentations. It was a whole thing about transparency and ethics. So I sent Patricia an email, very politely, reminding her of this policy and saying that I expected to be credited for my work during the presentation, even if I wasn't in the room. I CC'd HR, framing it as just wanting to make sure I was following company policy correctly. Patricia responded saying that, as my supervisor, she was responsible for all work from our team and would handle the attribution as she saw fit. She did not CC HR back. The presentation happened. I wasn't there, but I was friends with someone in the scheduling department who had access to meeting recordings for quality assurance purposes. She sent me the video. Patricia presented my entire strategy, word for word from my slides, and never once mentioned my name or anyone else on the team. She told the client I developed this approach, and my strategy here is over and over. At one point, the client even complimented a specific creative element and asked how she came up with it, something I'd spent 2 weeks developing. She just smiled and said, "Oh, just years of experience in the field." I downloaded the video. I compiled all my original work files with timestamps. I put together every email where I'd sent her drafts and updates. I created a detailed timeline showing that I'd done 100% of the work while she'd contributed nothing but criticism. Then, I sent it all to HR with a formal complaint, citing the company's intellectual property policy, the ethics training we'd all received, and Patricia's explicit email saying she would handle attribution as she saw fit, which apparently meant not at all. I also sent it to her boss, the VP of our division, with a very diplomatic email saying I was concerned about the company's ethical standards and wanted to ensure we were in compliance with our stated policies. HR launched an investigation. They pulled meeting recordings from other presentations Patricia had done. Turns out this wasn't an isolated incident. She'd been taking sole credit for teamwork for years, across multiple projects and clients. They interviewed people on our team. Once people knew there was an official investigation, everyone came forward with their own stories. The floodgates opened. It wasn't just about credit. People shared stories about her berating them, demanding work on weekends and holidays, retaliating against anyone who pushed back. Patricia was fired 3 weeks later. HR called it a mutual separation, but everyone knew what really happened. The VP personally apologized to me and asked if I wanted to apply for Patricia's position. I said no. I'd already started job hunting because I couldn't work there anymore after all this. I left 2 months later for a better job with better pay and a boss who actually respects his team. But before I left, I had the satisfaction of watching Patricia's entire empire crumble because I took her own email advice and followed company policy extremely literally. The thing is, she could have just credited me. That's all I asked for. If she'd put my name on one slide, said, "My team member developed this strategy," literally anything acknowledging my work, none of this would have happened. But her ego couldn't handle sharing credit, and it cost her everything. I don't feel guilty. She built her career on stealing other people's work and treating them like garbage. She got exactly what she deserved. Sometimes the best revenge is just following the rules very, very carefully. Let's dive into the next one. I live in a neighborhood with street parking and driveways. My driveway is clearly marked, and there's a curb cutout. It's obviously a driveway, not ambiguous in any way. This becomes important. About a year ago, New neighbors moved in across the street. Young couple, seemed nice enough at first. We did the whole neighborly wave thing. I brought over cookies when they moved in. Everything was fine. Then the guy started parking his truck in a way that blocked my driveway. Not fully blocking it, but angled so that I couldn't pull in or out without serious maneuvering. The first time it happened, I figured it was an accident. I knocked on their door, politely explained the situation, and he moved it. No problem. Then it happened again the next week. And again. And again. Every time, I'd have to go knock on his door and ask him to move. Sometimes he'd be home and act annoyed that I was bothering him. Sometimes he wouldn't be home, and I'd just be stuck. After the 6th or 7th time, I left a note on his windshield asking him to please be more mindful about where he parked. The note was polite. I even drew a little diagram showing how his parking blocked my driveway. His response was to start parking even worse, fully blocking my driveway now instead of just partially. It was clearly intentional. When I confronted him, he said street parking was first come, first serve, and I didn't own the street. I pointed out that I wasn't asking for street parking. I was asking him not to block my driveway, which is actually illegal. He told me to call the cops if I had a problem then. So I did. The cops came out, talked to him, told him he couldn't block driveways, and made him move his truck. I thought that would be the end of it. It was not. This guy became my nemesis. He started doing petty things, putting his trash cans in front of my house, letting his dog poop in my yard, revving his engine early in the morning. It was like he decided that me asking him not to block my driveway was a personal attack. The driveway blocking continued too. He'd wait until late at night when the cops were unlikely to come out for a non-emergency, then park blocking my driveway. I'd wake up in the morning, need to get to work, and be stuck. I called the cops multiple times. They'd come out, he'd move it, and then he'd do it again a few days later. I was at my wit's end. Then I had an idea. I called a towing company and asked about the legality of towing someone blocking my driveway. Turns out, property owners can absolutely have vehicles towed if they're blocking their driveway, but you need proper signage. I put up a sign at the end of my driveway. Big, clear, impossible to miss. Private driveway, no parking. Violators will be towed. The next time he blocked my driveway, I didn't call the cops. I called the tow company. They came out, verified he was blocking my driveway, hooked up his truck, and towed it. He came banging on my door at 11 p.m. asking where his truck was. I told him it got towed for blocking my driveway. He lost his mind, screaming about how I couldn't do that, how I'd pay for this, all kinds of threats. I told him I had every right to have my driveway kept clear, and that he'd been warned multiple times. Getting his truck out of an impound cost him about $300. He was furious. He filed a complaint with the towing company saying it was an illegal tow. They reviewed it, saw my sign, and the documentation that he was blocking my driveway, and told him the tow was legitimate. He tried to take me to small claims court to recover the impound fees. The judge listened to his story, looked at my photos of his truck blocking my driveway, looked at the police reports from all the times I'd called about him, and dismissed his case. The judge literally told him, "Don't park blocking driveways and you won't get towed." You'd think that would teach him a lesson, but no. 2 weeks later, he blocked my driveway again. I had him towed again. Another $300. After the third tow in 2 months, he finally stopped. He still parks on the street, but now he makes sure he's nowhere near my driveway. He won't make eye contact with me. His wife actually apologized to me once when he wasn't around, said she told him to stop being an idiot, but he was too stubborn to listen until it cost him real money. The whole neighborhood knows about it now. Someone else started calling the same tow company when people block their driveway. The guy's become a bit of a pariah because everyone thinks he's a jerk who can't follow basic parking rules. I don't feel bad at all. I tried being nice. I tried politely asking. I tried leaving notes. I involved the police. He chose to keep being a problem, so I chose to make being a problem expensive for him. Sometimes people need to learn lessons the hard way. In his case, the hard way cost him about $900 in towing fees and a humiliating small claims court appearance. park in legal spots, and this never would have happened. It's really that simple. Next story coming up. This one still stings, and I'm not entirely sure how to process it, but I need to tell someone. I had a solid friend group for about 5 years. 6 of us, total. All met in college, stayed close after graduation, even though we ended up in different cities. We had a group chat that was active every day. We planned trips together. We were genuinely close. Or so I thought. About 8 months ago, I went through a rough patch. I lost my job, broke up with my long-term girlfriend, and fell into a pretty deep depression. I withdrew a bit, wasn't as active in the group chat, canceled on a couple of planned hangouts. I was dealing with stuff and didn't have the energy to be social. My friends were supportive at first. They checked in, sent encouraging messages, offered to visit. But as weeks turned into months, and I was still struggling, I noticed the messages became less frequent. I wasn't included in spontaneous plans anymore. When I did try to engage in the group chat, my messages would sometimes go ignored or get minimal responses. I figured they were just giving me space to work through my stuff. I didn't take it personally. I was focused on getting better, going to therapy, applying for jobs, trying to rebuild my life. Then about 3 months ago, I was scrolling Instagram and saw a post from one of the guys in the group. It was a photo from what looked like a weekend trip, a nice cabin somewhere, big group dinner, everyone laughing. I recognized everyone in the photo. It was our friend group, all 5 of them, without me. I felt sick to my stomach, but I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a last-minute thing. Maybe they figured I was too busy with job hunting to join. I sent a message in the group chat saying the photos looked fun and asking how the trip was. Silence for like 6 hours. Then finally someone responded with a brief, "Yeah, it was nice," and changed the subject. That's when I started paying more attention. I went through their social media more carefully. There were multiple hangouts, dinners, day trips over the past few months that I hadn't been invited to. They were still seeing each other regularly, just without me. I felt paranoid, like maybe I was overthinking things, so I decided to test it. I suggested we all meet up for someone's birthday that was coming up. I offered to plan something, said I'd been feeling better, and wanted to see everyone. The response was lukewarm at best. Lots of, maybe if I can get time off work, and sounds good, but I'll have to check my schedule. The birthday came and went, and according to social media, they all celebrated together, at a bar in the city where 3 of them live. I wasn't invited. I finally confronted them. I sent a message in the group chat saying I'd noticed I wasn't being included anymore and asking if I'd done something wrong. If they were upset with me about something, I wanted to know so we could talk about it. One person responded saying I was being sensitive and that people were just busy. Another said they didn't know what I was talking about. The others didn't respond at all. Then I got a separate text from one of the girls in the group, someone I'd considered my closest friend. She said she felt bad about how things had gone, but the truth was that the group had found me too draining to be around during my depression. She said they'd tried to be supportive, but it was exhausting, and eventually they just started making plans without including me because it was easier. She said once they started hanging out without me, they realized the dynamic was actually better with just the 5 of them. They'd formed a new group chat without me. They'd been actively excluding me for months. She apologized for not being upfront about it earlier, but said she thought I should know the truth rather than keep wondering what was wrong. I was devastated. These were people I thought would be there for me through anything. I'd been there for them through breakups, job losses, family emergencies. But when I needed support, I became too much of a burden. The worst part is they didn't even have the courage to tell me directly. They just phased me out and hoped I wouldn't notice. And when I did notice and asked about it, they gaslighted me and said I was being sensitive. I left the group chat. I unfollowed all of them on social media. I haven't spoken to any of them since. One of them tried to text me a few weeks later saying they missed me and asking if I wanted to get lunch, but I ignored it. I'm not interested in being someone's backup friend when their first choice doesn't work out. It's been hard. I lost my entire friend group basically overnight. But I'm also realizing they weren't really my friends if they could drop me that easily. Real friends stick around when things get hard. Real friends tell you if there's a problem instead of secretly excluding you. I'm rebuilding. I've made some new friends through work and a hobby group I joined. It's slow going, but these new people actually seem to value me. They check in when I'm quiet. They include me in plans. They act like they actually want me around. I still think about the old group sometimes, though. I wonder if they feel guilty. I wonder if they miss me at all, or if they really are better off without me. I wonder if I was as draining as they said, or if they just didn't want to deal with a friend who wasn't fun all the time. Mostly I'm just sad. Sad that 5 years of friendship meant so little. Sad that the people I trusted most were the ones who hurt me most. Sad that I'm apparently disposable when things get tough. But I'm also angry. Angry that they handled it so cowardly. Angry that they wasted months of my life wondering what I did wrong. Angry that they couldn't just be honest with me. I don't know if I'll ever fully get over this. The trust issues this created are real. I find myself holding back with new friends, waiting for the moment they decide I'm too much trouble. But I'm trying. I'm in therapy working through it. I'm learning to recognize my worth and not settle for people who treat me like I'm optional. If there's any lesson here, it's that some friendships don't survive hard times, and that's okay. It hurts, but it's better to lose fair weather friends than to keep pretending everything's fine when it's not. I just wish they'd had the decency to tell me to my face instead of letting me figure it out through Instagram posts. Moving on to the next story, I'm the oldest of 3 kids. My younger sister is 28, and she's never really had her life together. I say this with love, but it's the truth. She's always been impulsive and bad with money, and quick to blame everyone else when things go wrong. Growing up, my parents bailed her out constantly, overdrafted her account, Dad would cover it, bought something she couldn't afford, Mom would help with payments, quit another job without having a new one lined up. They'd float her rent for a few months. I went the opposite direction, got a scholarship for college, worked part-time throughout school, lived frugally, saved money. By the time I was 25, I had a solid career, a healthy savings account, and I'd bought my first house. I'm not rich by any means, but I'm comfortable and financially stable. My sister resented this. She'd make comments about how I was lucky or how things came easy for me. Never mind that I worked my butt off while she was bouncing from party to party and changing majors 4 times before dropping out. Our parents passed away 2 years ago, within 6 months of each other. It was sudden and devastating for all of us. They left behind some assets, the house, some savings, retirement accounts. Everything was split equally among the 3 of us kids. My sister burned through her inheritance in less than a year. New car, expensive apartment, designer clothes, trips to Europe. She'd always wanted to live her best life and suddenly had the money to do it. So she did. No thought about making it last or investing it or using it wisely. Meanwhile, I put my portion into investments and paid off my mortgage. My brother did something similar, used his share for a down payment on a house and invested the rest. Now, 2 years later, my sister is broke again, and she expects me to help. It started small. She'd asked to borrow $50 for groceries, then $200 for car repairs, then $500 for rent. She never paid any of it back. I didn't push it because she was family and I could afford it, even if it annoyed me. But it escalated. She totaled her car, the fancy one she'd bought with the inheritance, and asked me to co-sign a loan for a new one. I said no. She couldn't believe it, said I was being selfish, that family helps family. I pointed out that she'd had money to buy a car outright less than 2 years ago, and chose to blow it all. She said that was in the past, and I needed to let it go. Then she lost her job. Again. This was the 3rd job in 2 years. She asked if she could move in with me, just for a few months, while she got back on her feet. I said no. I like living alone. I've worked hard for my space, and I knew from past experience that a few months would turn into indefinitely. She completely lost it, told me I was heartless, that mom and dad would be ashamed of me, that I clearly didn't care about family. She said I had plenty of room and plenty of money, and refusing to help her when she was struggling made me a terrible sister. I held firm. I told her I'd been watching her make bad financial decisions for years, and I wasn't going to enable it anymore. I said she needed to figure out how to support herself because she couldn't rely on other people to bail her out forever. She called me every name in the book and hung up. Then she called our brother and tried to get him to pressure me. He sided with me, said she needed to learn to stand on her own feet. She hasn't spoken to either of us in 6 months. Here's the thing. I feel guilty. She's my sister, and she's struggling, and I have the means to help her. Part of me wonders if I should just let her move in or give her money to get through this rough patch. But the other part of me, the bigger part, knows that helping her now will just delay the inevitable. She'll blow whatever money I give her. She'll overstay her welcome if I let her move in, and we'll be right back here in a year, except I'll be out thousands of dollars and resentful about it. She needs to hit rock bottom. She needs to feel the actual consequences of her choices. Our parents protected her from those consequences her whole life, and it did her no favors. She never learned to budget, to save, to plan for the future, to make responsible decisions. I've offered to help her create a budget. I've offered to help her find resources like financial counseling or job placement services. I've offered to help in ways that actually teach her to help herself. She doesn't want that. She wants cash and a free place to live with no strings attached. My extended family is split. Some think I'm right, that tough love is what she needs. Others think I'm cruel, that families should support each other no matter what. One of my aunts sent me a long text about how disappointed my parents would be in me for turning my back on my sister. But I don't think I'm turning my back on her. I think I'm refusing to enable self-destructive behavior. There's a difference. If she had a legitimate crisis, medical emergency, natural disaster, something truly beyond her control, I'd help in a heartbeat. But this isn't that. This is her refusing to live within her means and expecting other people to make up the difference. I'm holding my boundary. She's currently crashing on a friend's couch and working a retail job. It's probably good for her, even if it's uncomfortable. Maybe she'll finally learn that money doesn't just appear, that adults have to support themselves, that actions have consequences. Or maybe she'll resent me forever and we'll never have a good relationship again. That possibility keeps me up at night, but I can't set myself on fire to keep her warm. I work too hard to build the life I have to let someone, even my sister, tear it down because of their poor choices. Family is important, but so is self-preservation, and sometimes those two things are in direct conflict. Let's continue with the next one. I go to a pretty tight-knit gym. It's one of those CrossFit type places where everyone knows each other. There are team workouts. People socialize after class. It's more like a community than just a gym. There's this couple who've been members for years. Let's call them Mike and Sarah. They were one of those fitness power couples, always working out together, posting couple photos, very publicly affectionate. Everyone thought they were relationship goals. I'm casual friends with Sarah. We're in the same morning class, sometimes grab coffee after workouts, follow each other on social media. Nice person, never had a problem with her. Mike, I didn't know as well. He was friendly enough, but we ran in different circles at the gym. He went to evening classes mostly. One night, I'm out at a bar with some non-gym friends, and I see Mike. He's with a woman who is definitely not Sarah. They're all over each other, kissing, holding hands, the whole deal. It's clearly not a platonic situation. I'm uncomfortable seeing this, but I figure maybe they have an open relationship or they're separated or something I don't know about. Not my business, right? So I don't say anything. Then a week later, Sarah is posting on Instagram about how lucky she is to have such an amazing, faithful partner. Photos of them together, long caption about trust and love. And I'm sitting there knowing what I saw, feeling sick about it. I debated for days what to do. On one hand, it's not my relationship and maybe I should stay out of it. On the other hand, if I was being cheated on, I'd want someone to tell me. I decided to tell her. I sent her a private message saying I needed to talk to her about something sensitive. We met for coffee and I told her what I'd seen. I was gentle about it, gave her all the details, said I wasn't sure if she knew or if there was context I was missing. She was devastated. Started crying right there in the coffee shop. She had no idea. They'd been together for 6 years, engaged for 1. She thanked me for telling her and said she needed to process this. 2 days later, she confronted Mike. He denied it at first, then admitted to it when she pressed him. Turns out it wasn't a one-time thing. He'd been seeing this other woman for months. Sarah broke off the engagement immediately and kicked him out of their shared apartment. I thought that was the end of my involvement. I'd done what I thought was right, and now they could deal with their relationship privately. But Mike went nuclear. He started telling people at the gym that I was lying, that I'd made it up because I had a crush on Sarah and wanted to break them up. Completely fabricated, but some people believed him. Then he said, I'd misunderstood what I saw, that the woman was his cousin, and I was causing problems over nothing. When someone pointed out that you don't make out with your cousin, he changed his story and said I was holding a grudge because he'd once corrected my form during a workout, and I was getting revenge. The gym community split into camps. Some people supported Sarah and thanked me for telling her the truth. Others thought I should have minded my own business. A few believed Mike's lies and started treating me coldly. The gym owners got involved because the drama was affecting the atmosphere. They asked me, Mike and Sarah, to tone things down. Sarah stopped coming to the gym entirely, said it was too painful to be there with all the reminders. Mike kept coming and acted like he was the victim. I became known as the person who broke up the golden couple. People who didn't know the full story would whisper when I walked in. Some of Mike's friends stopped talking to me. One woman actually confronted me in the parking lot and said I'd ruined Sarah's life by not minding my own business. The thing is, I didn't ruin Sarah's life. Mike did. I just told her the truth. She deserved to know her fiancé was cheating on her before she married him. I'd want someone to do the same for me. But the social fallout has been brutal. My comfortable gym community doesn't feel comfortable anymore. I dread going to classes because I don't know who's going to be hostile or awkward around me. Sarah reached out a few weeks ago and said she appreciated what I did, that finding out before the wedding saved her from an even bigger mess. She said she's sorry the gym environment has been weird for me and that Mike's been spreading lies. That helped, knowing she doesn't blame me, but it doesn't change the fact that a lot of other people do. I've thought about switching gyms, but why should I? I didn't do anything wrong. I saw someone cheating and told their partner. That's it. I'm not the villain here, even though some people are treating me like one. The whole situation has made me cynical about intervening in other people's lives, though. Even when you think you're doing the right thing, even when you're trying to help someone, it can blow up in your face. People don't always want the truth, and they definitely don't always thank you for it. I'd still tell Sarah if I had to do it over again. She deserved to know. But I understand now why people say to stay out of other people's relationships. Sometimes doing the right thing comes with consequences, and you have to decide if you're willing to deal with those consequences. I'm still dealing with them months later. Next story up. I need to preface this by saying I genuinely didn't mean for any of this to happen. It was a series of well-intentioned decisions that somehow spiraled into neighborhood drama. I live in a family-oriented suburb where people go all out for Halloween. Decorated houses, elaborate costumes, the whole thing. Parents walk their kids around trick-or-treating, and it's this big community event. I'm single, no kids, but I've always participated. I buy good candy, decorate my house reasonably well, and I enjoy seeing the kids' costumes. Last year, I decided to step up my game. I'm into special effects and prop making as a hobby, so I went all out on my Halloween display. I built a graveyard scene in my front yard with realistic tombstones. I set up lighting effects. I created this elaborate, haunted porch scene with animated figures that I programmed to move and make sounds. The centerpiece was a Grim Reaper figure that I'd built myself. It was like 7 feet tall, super detailed, and I'd rigged it with a motion sensor, so when kids approached for candy, it would suddenly lurch forward with this loud creaking sound, and its eyes would light up red. I thought it was cool. Spooky but fun, definitely in the spirit of Halloween. I'd spent weeks building it, and I was proud of how it turned out. Halloween night comes. The first few groups of trick-or-treaters love it. Teenagers are taking photos. Older kids think it's awesome. I'm feeling pretty good about my display. Then, a family comes up with a little kid, maybe 4 or 5 years old. The Reaper triggers, lurches forward with the sound effects. The kid absolutely loses it, screaming, crying, complete terror. The parents have to carry the kid away while he's sobbing. I feel terrible. I come out and apologize, say I didn't mean to scare him that badly. The mom is nice about it, says he'll be fine. But the dad gives me this look like I'm a monster. I decide to adjust the sensor so it won't trigger for really small kids getting close. Problem solved, right? Wrong. Over the course of the night, I have 3 more little kids completely freak out. One wets himself. Another won't stop crying for like 20 minutes, according to a parent who comes back to yell at me. A third kid apparently had nightmares for a week afterward. I start getting complaints. Parents say my display is too scary, that it's inappropriate for young children, that I should have warned people or toned it down. Some say I'm ruining Halloween for little kids who just want to get candy without being traumatized. I argue that Halloween is supposed to be scary. That's the whole point. My display isn't gory or violent, it's just spooky. If their kids can't handle it, they can skip my house. There are plenty of other houses giving out candy. This does not go over well. Someone posts about it in our neighborhood Facebook group, and suddenly I'm the subject of a heated debate. Half the neighborhood thinks I'm fine, and people need to lighten up. The other half thinks I'm inconsiderate, and that Halloween should be accessible to kids of all ages. Someone suggests I put up a warning sign. I think that's reasonable, so I put up a sign that says, "Scary display ahead. Small children may want to skip this house." I think that solves the problem. Nope. Now people are mad that I won't just turn off my display or make it less scary. They say a warning sign isn't enough, that young kids can't read and parents might not see it in time. The HOA gets involved. They send me a letter saying I've received complaints about my Halloween display and asking me to make it more family-friendly. I respond saying I'm not violating any HOA rules. I checked, and my display stays as is. For the next few weeks, I'm the neighborhood pariah. People give me dirty looks when I'm getting my mail. Someone keeps knocking over my trash cans. I overhear a mom at the grocery store telling her friend about that house that traumatized all the little kids. The thing is, I genuinely feel bad that some kids got scared. That wasn't my intention. But I also don't think I did anything wrong. Halloween is a holiday about scary stuff. I made a scary display. If parents don't want their young kids exposed to scary things, they can avoid my house. I'm not running a gore fest or a slasher scene. It's a spooky graveyard with an animatronic Reaper. That's pretty standard Halloween stuff. Every haunted house, every Halloween attraction has similar or scarier things. This year, I'm in a dilemma. Do I tone down my display to appease the neighborhood? Do I skip Halloween decorating entirely to avoid conflict? Or do I double down and make it even more elaborate because I don't think I should have to change what I enjoy because some people can't handle it? Part of me wants to be petty and go even bigger, build a full haunted walkway, add more animatronics, really commit to the bit, show them what too scary actually looks like. But the more mature part of me knows that's not worth the neighborhood drama. I like where I live. I don't want to be the pariah. I don't want to be the person everyone complains about. So I'll probably tone it down this year. Not because I think I was wrong, but because sometimes maintaining peace is worth more than proving a point, though I'm keeping the Reaper. That's non-negotiable. I spent too much time building it to put it in storage. Maybe I'll just add a bigger warning sign and keep the sensor sensitivity lower. And if people still have a problem with it, well, they can take it up with the Halloween spirit. On to the next story. This is recent, and I'm still processing it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to break up with my girlfriend over this. It sounds dramatic when I say it out loud, but hear me out. I've been dating Emma for about 1.5 years. Early in our relationship, she told me she has a severe shellfish allergy, like EpiPen level severe. She said even trace amounts could send her into anaphylaxis. I took this seriously because allergies are serious. I stopped eating shellfish entirely because I didn't want to risk cross-contamination. When we'd go out to eat, we'd always ask about shellfish in dishes and sometimes leave restaurants if she didn't feel safe about their kitchen practices. I carried her EpiPen in my bag when we went out together. Her allergy became a significant part of how we navigated life together. We couldn't go to certain restaurants. We had to be careful at dinner parties. Once we had to leave a friend's wedding early because they served a seafood bar, and she was worried about contamination in the venue. I never questioned it. Why would I? Allergies are a thing. People have them. She seemed genuinely anxious about it, and I wanted to support her. Then last month, I came home early from a work trip. I told Emma I wouldn't be back until the next day, but my meetings finished early, and I caught an earlier flight. I walk into our apartment, and Emma is sitting on the couch eating Chinese takeout. I go to greet her and see the containers on the coffee table. Shrimp lo mein, shrimp fried rice, honey walnut shrimp. She sees me and literally freezes mid-bite, shrimp on her fork. I'm confused. I ask what she's doing, if she's okay, if she knows there's shrimp in her food. She puts the fork down and gets this look on her face like she's been caught doing something wrong. Long pause. Then she says, "I need to tell you something." Turns out she doesn't have a shellfish allergy. She never has. She made it up early in our relationship because she doesn't like shellfish and thought saying she was allergic was easier than just saying she didn't like it. I was stunned. I asked her why she would lie about something like that. Why she would let me restructure my eating habits, carry an EpiPen, stress about cross-contamination, leave events early, all for a fake allergy. She said it started as a small lie and then got out of control. Once she'd committed to it, she felt like she couldn't tell the truth without looking crazy. She said she'd tried to tell me a few times but never found the right moment. I was furious. I asked about the EpiPen I'd been carrying around for a year. She said it was an expired one she'd bought online to make the allergy seem more legitimate. I asked about all the times we'd left restaurants or events. She admitted she just didn't want to be there or didn't like the food options. I asked if she felt any guilt about making me give up foods I enjoyed for her fake medical condition. She said she did feel guilty, but she also pointed out that I'd never said I missed shellfish, so she figured it wasn't a big deal to me. This was a week ago, and I've barely spoken to her since. I've been staying at a friend's place while I figure out what to do. Here's what I keep coming back to. She lied to me consistently for a year and a half. Every time I asked about her allergy, every time I helped her navigate food situations, every time I carried that fake EpiPen, I was being lied to. It wasn't a one-time lie that she felt bad about. It was an ongoing deception that she actively maintained. She bought a fake EpiPen. She faked anxiety about contamination. She let me restructure my life around her fake medical needs. And she only came clean because I caught her. If I hadn't come home early, would she ever have told me? How long would this have gone on? She's been texting me nonstop. She says it was a stupid lie that spiraled out of control. She says she loves me and doesn't want to lose me over this. She says everyone has secrets and this one didn't hurt anyone. But it did hurt me. It hurt my ability to trust her. It hurt my perception of our entire relationship. How do I know what else she's lied about? If she could maintain a fake allergy for a year and a half, what else is she capable of deceiving me about? My friends are split. Some say everyone makes mistakes, and a lie about food preferences isn't worth ending a relationship over. Others say the level of deception and planning that went into maintaining this lie is a massive red flag. I'm leaning toward ending it, not because she doesn't like shellfish. I don't care about that. But because she created an elaborate lie, maintained it for over a year, and only stopped because she got caught. That's not someone I can trust. That's not someone I want to build a future with. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe this is salvageable. But right now, all I can think about is every time I carried that fake EpiPen, genuinely worried about her safety, while she knew the whole thing was a performance. That's not okay. I don't care how the lie started or why she kept it going. It's not okay, so yeah. I'm probably ending a 1.5-year relationship over a fake shellfish allergy, and I think I'm justified in doing so. Let's move to the next story. My younger brother got engaged 2 months ago, and I'm the reason his proposal didn't go the way he planned. The family is furious with me, but I stand by what I did. Some backstory. My brother has been dating this girl, Kelly, for about 3 years. She's great, smart, funny, way too good for him, honestly. But she's been clear from the start that she has certain expectations for a proposal. She's talked about it openly with friends and family. She wants something private and meaningful, not a public spectacle. She specifically said she would hate being proposed to in front of a crowd because she finds those situations stressful and performative. My brother knew this. We'd all heard her say it multiple times. She wasn't being subtle or unclear. She'd explicitly stated her preference. So naturally, my brother decided to plan a public proposal at a family reunion in front of 50+ relatives, with a photographer hidden in the crowd. When he told me his plan 2 weeks before the reunion, I told him it was a terrible idea. I reminded him that Kelly had specifically said she didn't want a public proposal. He waved me off and said she'd love it once it happened, that she didn't know what she really wanted, that all girls say they don't want public proposals, but secretly do. I tried multiple times to talk him out of it. I showed him text messages in our family group chat where Kelly had joked about public proposals being her nightmare. He said I was being pessimistic and needed to trust him. The day of the family reunion, I pulled Kelly aside before everything started. I told her that my brother was planning to propose today and that it was going to be in front of everyone. I said I knew that wasn't what she wanted, and I thought she should know, so she could decide how to handle it. She was horrified. She appreciated the heads up and said she needed to think about what to do. I told her I'd support whatever decision she made. The proposal happened. My brother got down on one knee in the middle of the reunion, right after lunch when everyone was gathered. He gave this whole speech about love and destiny. Kelly looked deeply uncomfortable the entire time. When he finally asked her to marry him, she said yes, but you could tell she wasn't happy. The family cheered. Photos were taken. My brother was thrilled. Kelly was putting on a smile, but I could see it didn't reach her eyes. Later that evening, Kelly and my brother had a massive fight. She told him she'd said yes because she felt trapped with everyone watching, but she was furious that he'd ignored her clearly stated boundaries. She said the proposal was about what he wanted, not about what would make her happy. She was questioning whether she wanted to marry someone who would disregard her feelings like that. My brother was devastated. Then he found out I'd warned Kelly ahead of time. He accused me of ruining his proposal, of sabotaging his relationship, of being jealous and bitter. My parents agreed with him. They said I'd overstepped and should have let my brother handle his own relationship. I disagreed then, and I disagreed now. My brother was about to put his girlfriend in an incredibly uncomfortable position that she'd explicitly said she didn't want to be in. He was prioritizing what he thought would make a good story over what would actually make her happy. I gave Kelly information that affected her life. She deserved to know what was coming, so she wasn't blindsided. I didn't tell her what to do. I just gave her the heads up so she could make her own choice about how to respond. If my brother had listened to his girlfriend in the first place and proposed privately like she wanted, none of this would have happened. His proposal wasn't ruined by me. It was ruined by his own refusal to respect Kelly's clearly stated preferences. Kelly actually thanked me afterward. She said she was grateful for the warning because it gave her time to mentally prepare instead of being completely ambushed. She said she would have been way more upset if she'd had no idea it was coming. She and my brother are still together and still engaged, but they've had some serious conversations about listening to each other and respecting boundaries. She made him return the photographer's photos because she didn't want pictures of that moment. They're planning to do a private do-over proposal at some point, just the two of them. My brother still isn't speaking to me. My parents say I need to apologize for interfering. Extended family members are divided. Some think I did the right thing. Others think I was out of line. I don't feel bad about it. I protected Kelly from a situation she didn't want to be in. I helped her avoid being pressured into a fake happy moment in front of 50 people. I did what a good friend and future sister-in-law should do. If my brother can't see that, if he's more concerned with his proposal story than with his fiance's actual feelings, that's a him problem. Kelly deserved better than being ambushed. With a public proposal, she'd explicitly said she didn't want. I made sure she at least had the information to handle it on her own terms. I'd do it again. Time for the next one. This happened 6 months ago, and I'm still mad about it, but I also find it kind of hilarious in retrospect. I worked in customer service for a telecommunications company. If you've ever called your cable or internet provider and wanted to throw your phone across the room, you can probably imagine what working there was like. It was a soul-crushing job with impossible metrics and angry customers all day long. Management was constantly on us about following the script. We had these detailed call flows we were supposed to follow exactly. Specific words we had to say, specific order we had to say them in, specific offers we had to make. If quality assurance listened to your calls and you deviated from the script, you got written up. They were also obsessed with call time. We were supposed to keep calls under a certain number of minutes. If your average call time was too high, you got written up. But if you rushed customers and they complained, you also got written up. It was a no-win situation. One day, I get this new supervisor. Let's call him Derek. Derek was one of those middle management types who was desperate to prove himself. He'd walk the floor listening to people's calls, nitpicking everything, sending aggressive messages about performance metrics. He pulls me aside one day and says my calls are too long and I need to speed things up. I explain that I'm following the script exactly as required, and the script is long. He says, I need to find ways to be more efficient while still following the script. I ask for specific guidance on what parts of the script I can skip or shorten. He says, I can't skip anything. I just need to talk faster and keep customers on track. Okay, sure. Next week, Derek pulls me aside again, says my call times still aren't where they need to be. I'm getting frustrated because I'm literally doing exactly what I'm supposed to do. I'm following the script. I'm hitting all the required points. I'm making the required offers. I can't control how long customers want to talk. Derek says that's not his problem. He says, I need to figure it out, or there will be consequences. He won't specify what those consequences are, just that I need to improve. So I decide to follow his instructions to the letter. He wants faster calls while following the script exactly. Fine, I'll give him that. I start talking fast, like speed reading commercial disclaimer fast. I blast through the script in a monotone voice, barely pausing between sentences. When customers try to interrupt with questions, I politely say, I'll get to that in just a moment, and keep racing through the script. My call times plummet. I'm getting through calls in half the time. Derek notices and praises me in the next team meeting, says I'm a great example of efficiency. Then the customers' complaints start rolling in. Apparently people don't like being speed talked at by a robot person. They're complaining that I'm rude, that I'm not listening to their problems, that I'm making them feel rushed and unimportant. Derek calls me into his office. He's gotten feedback from quality assurance about my recent calls. He plays me a recording of one of my calls where I'm blazing through the script at maximum speed. He asks what I think I'm doing. I explain that I'm doing exactly what he told me to do, following the script exactly while keeping my call times down. He says this isn't what he meant. I ask him to clarify what he meant then. He can't give me a straight answer. He says I was deliberately being difficult and making the company look bad. I say I was following his direct instructions as best as I could interpret them. He says I knew what he meant and was being purposely obtuse. I get written up for failing to provide adequate customer service and not representing company values. 2 weeks later, I get fired for not being a good culture fit. After another round of customer complaints, the thing is, I wasn't trying to sabotage anything. I was genuinely trying to meet Derek's contradictory demands, follow the script exactly, but also make calls shorter. Talk to customers thoroughly, but also be more efficient. Don't deviate from the process, but also solve problems faster. It was impossible, so I chose to prioritize the metric he kept harping on, call time, while still following the required script. If that made me sound like an auctioneer having a panic attack, well, that was the natural result of his instructions. I filed for unemployment, explained the situation, and got approved because the firing was deemed unjustified. The unemployment office agreed that I'd been following company procedures and that the expectations were contradictory. I'm at a better job now with better management and no phone calls, but I still think about that situation sometimes and laugh. Derek wanted faster call times while maintaining quality customer service and perfect script adherence. I proved that you can't have all three, and I got fired for proving him wrong. Sometimes, following instructions too literally is the best way to expose how ridiculous those instructions are. Moving to the next story, I've known my friend Jess since college. We've been close for about 8 years, been through a lot together, considered each other best friends. Jess has been dating her boyfriend Tom for 3 years. Tom is a good guy as far as I can tell, treats her well. They seem happy together, no red flags that I've seen. A few months ago, Jess tells me she wants to go on a girls' trip to Las Vegas. Just her and her coworker Rachel. Blow off some steam, have fun. She asks if I want to come. I can't because of work commitments, but I tell her to have fun. Then she asks me for a favor. She wants to tell Tom that I'm going on the trip too. She says Tom is a bit controlling about her going out without him, and if he thinks I'll be there as the responsible friend, he'll be more comfortable with it. I'm immediately uncomfortable with this. I tell her I don't want to lie to Tom. She says it's not a big lie, just a small thing to make her life easier. I say if Tom's controlling about her going out, that's a relationship issue they need to address, not something I should help cover up. She drops it, and I think that's the end of it. She goes on her Vegas trip, posts some photos on Instagram, has a good time. 2 weeks later, Tom calls me out of the blue. He says he needs to ask me something, and he wants me to be honest. He asks if I went on the Vegas trip with Jess. I'm caught completely off guard. I pause for too long, and Tom says, "That's what I thought." He tells me Jess said I was there, but he saw the social media posts and I wasn't in any of them. He'd asked Jess about it, and she said I was just camera shy and stayed off social media during the trip. I don't want to lie to him, but I also don't want to throw Jess under the bus. So I say, I think he should talk to Jess about this directly. Tom says he's trying to, but she keeps avoiding the conversation, and he's starting to worry about what else she might be lying about. He asks me directly, "Did I go on the trip?" I say no. He thanks me for being honest and hangs up. I immediately call Jess and tell her what happened. She loses her mind. She says I just ruined her relationship, that I should have backed up her story, that she can't believe I'd betray her like this. I say I wasn't going to lie to her boyfriend's face. She says real friends have each other's backs. I say real friends don't put each other in positions where they have to lie. Tom and Jess had a huge fight. Turns out the Vegas trip wasn't the only thing she'd lied about. There were other occasions where she'd said I was with her when I wasn't. Tom felt like he couldn't trust anything she said anymore. They broke up. Jess blames me entirely. She says if I'd just gone along with the story, everything would have been fine. She's told mutual friends that I chose her boyfriend over her friendship, that I'm a terrible friend, that I can't be trusted. I feel bad that they broke up, but I don't think I did anything wrong. She put me in an impossible position. She wanted me to lie to help her deceive her boyfriend. When I refused, somehow I became the villain. Some of our mutual friends agree with me. They say I was right not to lie, and that Jess's relationship problems were her own doing. Others think I should have just backed up her story since it wasn't a big deal, and I should prioritize my friendship over some guy. But here's the thing. It was a big deal. She was lying to her boyfriend about where she was and who she was with. That's not a small white lie to smooth things over. That's deception about her whereabouts and activities. Those are the kinds of lies that make partners question everything. And she didn't just do it once. She had an established pattern of using me as an alibi without my knowledge or consent. That's not okay. That's using our friendship as a tool for deception. I don't regret refusing to lie. I regret that my friend thought it was acceptable to put me in that position in the first place. I regret that she valued my willingness to help her deceive someone over our actual friendship. Jess and I haven't spoken in 2 months. She blocked me on social media. Mutual friends say she's still angry and has no plans to apologize or reconcile. I miss her sometimes. 8 years of friendship doesn't just disappear. But I also know that a friend who would cut me off for refusing to lie for them wasn't really the friend I thought they were. Real friends don't put you in positions where you have to choose between your integrity and their convenience. Real friends don't use you as an alibi without asking. Real friends don't blame you when their lies catch up with them. I'm at peace with how I handled it. I wish it hadn't cost me a friendship, but I'm not willing to be someone's accomplice in deception. That's not who I am, and I won't compromise that for anyone. Let's get into the next one. For context, I've been at my current job for 5 years. I'm good at what I do, I care about the quality of my work, and I've always gone above and beyond. Staying late to finish projects, taking on extra responsibilities, helping coworkers with their work, volunteering for committees, you name it, I did it. I never got promoted for any of this. I never got raises beyond the standard cost of living adjustments everyone got. When I'd ask about advancement opportunities, my boss would say I was doing great where I was, and they didn't want to lose me from my current role. Last year, we hired a new guy. Let's call him Brad. Brad does the bare minimum, shows up at 9, leaves at 5 on the dot, never volunteers for anything extra, doesn't help anyone else with their work. He's not bad at his job. He's just aggressively average and clearly doesn't care about anything beyond his basic job description. 6 months after Brad was hired, he got promoted to a position above me, a position I'd expressed interest in multiple times. I asked my boss why Brad got promoted over me when I had more experience, better performance reviews, and had been doing extra work for years. My boss said, Brad showed leadership potential and had fresh perspectives. I asked what I could do to show leadership potential. My boss gave me vague advice about being more assertive. That's when I realized I'd been rewarded for going above and beyond by being given more work with no additional compensation or recognition. Brad had been rewarded for doing exactly what was asked of him and nothing more by getting a promotion. So I stopped. I stopped staying late. I stopped volunteering for committees. I stopped helping coworkers who should be able to do their own work. I did my job, my actual job description, and nothing else. I showed up on time, did solid work, and went home at 5. The impact was immediate. Projects started running behind because I wasn't there to pick up the slack. Committees lost momentum because I wasn't organizing things. Coworkers who'd relied on me to bail them out had to figure things out themselves. My boss noticed within 2 weeks. He asked if everything was okay, if I was unhappy. I said everything was fine. I was just focusing on my core responsibilities. He asked if I could help out with a few extra things, like I used to. I said I'd be happy to discuss taking on additional responsibilities, if we could also discuss appropriate compensation for those responsibilities. He didn't like that. Said I was being difficult and not a team player anymore. I pointed out that Brad had been promoted while being less of a team player than I'd ever been, so clearly that wasn't actually a valued quality here. That conversation didn't go well, but I stuck to my guns. If doing extra work wasn't going to be recognized or rewarded, I wasn't going to do it. I'd do my job well, but that was it. 3 months later, my boss tried to write me up for decreased performance and engagement. I pointed out that my actual job performance hadn't decreased at all. I was meeting all my metrics and completing all my assigned work. I just wasn't doing extra work that wasn't part of my job description. HR got involved. I showed them my job description and demonstrated that I was meeting every requirement in it. They had to admit I wasn't actually failing at anything. I just wasn't going above and beyond anymore. The write-up was dismissed, but the atmosphere at work became hostile. My boss started micromanaging me. Coworkers who'd benefited from my help were annoyed that I wasn't bailing them out anymore. I was excluded from informal social events. It's been 8 months since I stopped doing extra work. I'm currently job hunting because it's clear this environment isn't going to improve, but I don't regret my decision. I spent 5 years giving this company more than they paid me for, and they took advantage of that. They kept me in my position because I was too useful there, doing the work of multiple people for the price of one. Meanwhile, someone who did the bare minimum got rewarded because he had potential, which apparently means doesn't make himself so indispensable in his current role that we can't promote him. The lesson I learned: don't make yourself too valuable in a position you don't want to stay in forever. Don't do extra work without extra compensation. Don't let companies exploit your work ethic while calling it being a team player. I was a team player for 5 years, and all it got me was more work and resentment when I finally set boundaries. My next job, I'm doing exactly what I'm hired to do, and nothing more, unless it comes with appropriate recognition and compensation. I'm done being the person who makes everyone else's job easier while my own career stagnates. Work-life balance isn't selfish. Setting boundaries isn't being difficult. Expecting fair compensation for extra work isn't entitled. These are basic professional standards, and I wish I'd realized that 5 years ago. Almost there. Next story coming up. My ex and I broke up about 4 months ago after dating for 2 years. The relationship ended badly. She cheated on me, I found out, confronted her, and she tried to flip the narrative to make herself the victim. Standard breakup drama. What made it worse was that we had a large, overlapping friend group. Most of these people I'd known longer than her, but she was very social and had integrated into the group pretty seamlessly during our relationship. After the breakup, she started telling people her version of events. According to her story, I was controlling and jealous. I'd accused her of cheating with no evidence because I was insecure. I'd become emotionally abusive toward the end of the relationship, and she'd had to end things for her own safety. The whole thing was a masterclass in Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Some people believed her. She's charismatic and a good storyteller, and her version of events painted her as this brave person escaping a toxic situation. I heard through mutual friends that she'd been telling people I was dangerous and that she was afraid of me. This was all completely false. I had evidence of her cheating, screenshots of messages, photos, the works. I'd never been controlling or abusive. The relationship had been pretty healthy until I found out about the affair. But I didn't defend myself publicly because I was trying to take the high road. I figured people who really knew me would see through her lies, and the people who believed her weren't worth my time. Then she crossed a line. She told one of my closest friends that I'd physically hurt her during an argument. This was completely fabricated. I have never and would never lay hands on anyone, let alone a partner. But now she was telling people I was not just emotionally abusive, but physically violent. That's when I decided the high road could go to hell. I wasn't going to let her destroy my reputation with lies about domestic violence. I compiled everything. Screenshots of her confessing to the affair. Screenshots of her apologizing for cheating. Messages from the guy she cheated with confirming the relationship. A timeline of events that completely contradicted her story. Character references from friends and family who'd witnessed our relationship and could vouch that I'd never been controlling or violent. Then I put it all in a document. I wrote a clear, factual summary of what actually happened. I didn't editorialize or call her names. I just laid out the facts with supporting evidence, and I sent it to our entire friend group in a mass message, about 30 people total. I said I'd been taking the high road, but couldn't stay silent while she accused me of domestic violence. I said everyone could make their own judgments based on the actual facts. The response was immediate. Some people thanked me for setting the record straight. Others were shocked at the evidence. A few people who'd been defending her publicly reached out to apologize for believing her lies. My ex was furious. She sent me several long, angry messages calling me every name in the book. She said I'd humiliated her and ruined her friendships. She said sharing private messages was a violation of her privacy and possibly illegal. I didn't respond. I'd said what I needed to say. The evidence spoke for itself. The fallout was significant. Most of our mutual friends sided with me once they saw the actual evidence. A few remained loyal to her, but they were people who'd been closer to her than me anyway. Several people completely cut her off, saying they couldn't be friends with someone who'd lie about domestic violence. She ended up leaving our friend group entirely. Last I heard, she moved to a different part of the city and found new social circles. Some people think I went too far, that I should have just let it go and moved on with my life. But I don't think I went too far. She was actively destroying my reputation with serious false accusations. Accusations of abuse and violence aren't small lies. They're character assassination. They can affect someone's career, future relationships, their entire life. I tried to be the bigger person. I stayed quiet while she told her twisted version of events. But when she started accusing me of physical violence, she crossed a line. I wasn't going to let that stand. The only thing I regret is not defending myself sooner. I wasted months letting her control the narrative while I tried to be mature about it. Sometimes being mature means standing up for yourself and presenting the truth, not silently absorbing false accusations. I'm in a better place now. New relationship, new social dynamics, my reputation recovered. But I learned an important lesson. Don't let people lie about you in the name of taking the high road. Some lies are too serious to ignore, and defending yourself with facts isn't petty. It's necessary. Let's move on to another story. I had a roommate situation from hell for about 8 months before I finally got out. It started fine and devolved into one of the most frustrating living situations I've ever experienced. I found an apartment with a girl I'll call Megan through a roommate matching service. She seemed normal, stable job, clean, respectful. We signed a year lease, and for the first month, everything was great. Then she started dating someone. Let's call him Kyle. Kyle was over constantly, and when I say constantly, I mean he was at our apartment more than he was at his own place. He'd sleep over 5 or 6 nights a week. He'd shower there, do his laundry there, cook meals there. He basically moved in without actually being on the lease or paying rent. At first, I didn't say anything. People have partners. Partners stay over sometimes. That's normal. But it quickly became clear this wasn't sometimes. This was Kyle living in our apartment while paying rent somewhere else. I started noticing other issues. Kyle would eat my food from the fridge. He'd use my toiletries. He'd leave his stuff everywhere. Shoes by the door, clothes on the couch, his gym bag in the bathroom. Our utility bills went up because he was showering there daily and leaving lights on all the time. I tried to bring it up casually with Megan. I said I'd noticed Kyle was around a lot and asked if maybe they could spend more time at his place. She said his apartment was farther from his work, and it was just more convenient for him to stay at ours. She didn't see the problem. I explained that I hadn't agreed to live with Kyle, just with her. She said he was her guest, and she had a right to have guests over. I said guests don't typically live in your apartment full time. She accused me of being controlling and unsupportive of her relationship. Things got worse. Kyle started inviting his own friends over. I'd come home from work to find Kyle and 2 of his buddies playing video games in our living room. Megan wouldn't even be home. He was treating our apartment like his personal space. I addressed it again with Megan. I told her Kyle needed to either start paying rent and utilities, or significantly reduce how much time he spent at our place. She said she couldn't tell her boyfriend he wasn't welcome in her home. I said it wasn't her home, it was our shared apartment, and having an additional person living there wasn't what I'd signed up for. She said I was being unreasonable, and if I didn't like it, I could move out. I reminded her we both signed a lease, and I had just as much right to be there as she did. I tried going through proper channels. I contacted our landlord and explained the situation, pointing out that someone who wasn't on the lease was essentially living in the apartment. The landlord sent Megan a warning letter saying unauthorized long-term guests were a lease violation. Megan was furious with me for tattling to the landlord. Kyle started being openly hostile toward me. He'd blast music when I was trying to work from home, leave messes everywhere, eat my clearly labeled food out of spite. I started documenting everything. I took photos of Kyle's stuff all over the apartment, screenshots of our utility bills increasing, a log of how many nights per week he was staying over. I saved text messages where Megan admitted Kyle was there most of the time. 4 months into this nightmare, I contacted a tenants' rights organization and asked about my options. They confirmed that what Megan was doing, having someone live in the apartment without putting them on the lease, was a violation of our rental agreement and I had grounds to break the lease early due to the living situation being substantially different from what I'd agreed to. I gave Megan one final chance. I told her Kyle needed to either move out entirely, or we needed to renegotiate our living arrangement with him officially on the lease, and splitting rent 3 ways. She refused both options, so I broke the lease. I worked with the landlord and the tenants' rights organization, provided all my documentation, and got released from the lease with no penalty. I found a new place and moved out in 2 weeks. Megan had to cover the full rent herself, which she couldn't afford. She and Kyle both left angry messages saying I'd screwed them over, that I'd ruined their living situation, that I was a terrible roommate. But here's the thing, I didn't screw them over. They screwed me over by fundamentally changing our living arrangement without my consent. I paid for a 2-bedroom apartment split with 1 roommate. What I got was a 2-bedroom apartment with 2 people, one of whom contributed nothing financially, but used all the common spaces, drove up utilities, ate my food, and made me uncomfortable in my own home. I tried to address it politely. I tried to compromise. I tried going through official channels. Nothing worked because they didn't see a problem with the situation. From their perspective, they got to live together while only paying for one person's worth of rent. My breaking the lease forced them to actually face the consequences of their choices. If they wanted to live together, they should have gotten a place together. They shouldn't have used me as a way to subsidize their living arrangement. I've been in my new place for 4 months now, and I live alone. Best decision I ever made. No roommates, no roommates' boyfriends, no one eating my food or using my stuff. Just peace and quiet and control over my own space. Sometimes people take advantage of your reluctance to cause conflict. They push boundaries slowly, testing what they can get away with. Megan and Kyle kept pushing until I finally pushed back. I don't regret it. I paid for a specific living situation, and when that situation changed dramatically, I removed myself from it. That's not screwing anyone over. That's protecting my own rights and sanity. Time for the final story. I come from a family where my younger sister has always been the favorite. This isn't subtle favoritism. It's obvious, documented, and has been going on our entire lives. She got a car for her 16th birthday. I got a card. She got her college fully paid for. I got loans. She got a down payment on her first house. I got a gift card to Target. I never said anything because I didn't want to cause problems. I told myself it was fine, that I was independent and didn't need help, that maybe they had more money when she was growing up. I made excuses, but it's always bothered me, especially because my sister doesn't seem to notice or care. She just accepts all the help and support like it's her due while I'm over here, bootstrapping my life with no assistance. This past Christmas, my parents announced they were giving my sister and her husband $40,000 to renovate their kitchen. Just casually dropped it during Christmas dinner like it was no big deal. My sister was thrilled, talking about the plans, thanking them profusely. I sat there feeling sick. I'd been saving for 2 years to afford a decent vacation, and here they were, dropping $40,000 on my sister's kitchen remodel like it was nothing. Later in the evening, my mom mentioned to me that I should really think about buying a house soon, that rent was just throwing money away. I said I'd love to buy a house, but I don't have money for a down payment. She said I should save more carefully. Something in me broke. I asked her how exactly I was supposed to save for a down payment when I had to take out student loans while my sister got school paid for, when I'd had to buy my own car while my sister got one as a gift, when I'd had to pay for my wedding myself while they'd given my sister $15,000 toward hers. The room went silent. My dad asked what I was talking about. I laid it all out, every instance of them giving my sister money or support that they'd never offered me. I'd kept a mental tally for years, and now I was sharing it. My sister said I was being dramatic and that they'd helped me too. I asked her to name one significant financial gift they'd given me. She couldn't. She said it wasn't about the money, and I was being petty by keeping score. I said it absolutely was about the money when they'd just given her $40,000 for a cosmetic renovation, while lecturing me about not saving enough for a down payment. My mom started crying. She said they'd always tried to be fair, that if I'd needed help, I should have asked. I pointed out that my sister never had to ask. Help was just offered freely. She said my sister had always been more open about her needs. I said maybe that's because my sister had needs met before she even had to ask, while I learned early that I was on my own. Christmas was ruined. My parents were upset. My sister was angry. Extended family was uncomfortable. People left early. I got multiple texts later telling me I'd been inappropriate and hurtful. But you know what? I don't regret it. I spent 30 years watching my sister get treated like a princess while I was expected to be self-sufficient. I watched my parents invest tens of thousands of dollars in her life while giving me the bare minimum and then wondering why I didn't achieve as much as her. It's hard to succeed when you're starting from behind. It's hard to save money when you're paying off student loans. It's hard to buy a house when you had to fund your own wedding and buy your own car and pay your own way through everything. My sister had a huge head start in life because of my parents' support, and they act like she just made better choices than me, when really she just had more resources. I'm done pretending it doesn't bother me. I'm done being the low-maintenance kid who doesn't need anything while she gets everything handed to her. I'm done making excuses for blatant favoritism. My parents haven't apologized. They maintain they've been fair. My sister thinks I'm jealous and bitter. Maybe I am. Maybe after 30 years of watching someone else get the support I never got, a little bitterness is justified. We haven't had a family gathering since Christmas. I don't know if we will. Part of me doesn't care. I'm tired of showing up to watch my sister's charmed life get even more charmed while I struggle and get lectured about financial responsibility. The truth hurts, but it needed to be said, even if it ruined Christmas. Even if my family can't handle hearing it. At least now it's out there. At least they can't pretend I don't notice. At least they have to acknowledge, even if they won't admit it, that they've treated their children very differently. Maybe one day they'll realize how damaging that was. Maybe they won't. Either way, I'm done staying quiet about it, and that's it for this video. Thank you for listening.